Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Archana Solanki. Here are the headlines we're tracking this evening. It's the best week of 2025 so far. Nifty gains 2% this week despite a flat close on Friday. All sectoral indices end in the green after the recent sell-off.
These market participants and corporates must uphold the highest standards of governance, disclosures and ethical practices.
Tuhin Kanta Pandey in his first PD address as SEBI chairman cautions that the regulator needs to be more transparent on conflict of interest of the board, says that SEBI will be coming forward with their own plan to reveal them to the public. Also adds that the regulator will engage with FPIs to address their concerns. US President Donald Trump blames globalists for the recent stock market sell-off, offers a major reprieve to Canada and Mexico from the 25% tariffs by exempting goods covered under the North American Trade Agreement. Trump restrains Elon Musk DOGE as concerns mount over the scale of job losses, tells cabinet secretaries to take the lead on cost-cutting and protect the most productive civil servants. Supreme Court questions the Maharashtra government for awarding the Dharavi redevelopment project to the Adani Group, seeks a response from authorities and Adani after a rival bidder alleges a scandal. The Apex Court refuses to stay the project for now but orders escrow for payments. RBI raises concerns over co-lending pacts in the process of examining cases where such pacts are leading to higher interest rates for the borrower. Sources say that scrutiny also comes in light of higher number of partnerships in the unsecured loans segment. Industry participants say that the regulator has shown discomfort in lending partnerships with unregulated entities. RBI approves reappointment of Sumant Katpalia as the MD and CEO of IndusInd Bank for 1 year till March 2026. The bank had sought a 3-year extension. Karnataka government's annual budget crosses 4 lakh crore rupees for the first time. Revenue deficit projected to fall by 30%. 90,000 crore rupees allocated for women-centric schemes. Price of movie tickets capped at 200 rupees. State governments also plans to launch an OTT platform for Kannada movies. All right, let's start with the market action. A flat close to what was the best week of 2025 so far. Nifty ended marginally in the green. Sensex and the mid-cap index ended in the red. But for the week, Nifty is up 2%, mid-caps are up 3%, and small-cap index is up 5%. In fact, all sectoral indices ended in the green this week. Mangalam Malu is here with a market wrap. Mangalam, will the winning momentum continue?
Well, you know, the way to sum up this market or the market this week is bulls claw back. Have the bulls fought back? Not yet. Are the bulls back? Not yet. They've clawed back to survive another week. The good part is we've outperformed the global markets after recent underperformance. The Nifty is up after 3 weeks of losses as well. So if you look at the Nifty, weekly losses, after 3 weeks of losses, we've ended up higher by about 2% in this week itself. All the major indices are in the green. The Nifty is up 2%. We saw some underperformance from the Nifty Bank and the mid-cap index. But if you look at, rather the Nifty Bank and the IT index, but if you look at the mid-cap and the small-cap indices, they have outperformed as well. So portfolios would be feeling good. Nearly all through this week, we had advances far outnumbering the declines itself. So just looking at a couple of factors, what could have led the market to stabilize in this week itself. The most important factor was the stability that we saw in the dollar index itself. The dollar index started this week at around 107, thereafter declined to about 104, initiating some strength in the rupee. That was further, further strengthened by the fact that the FII selling in cash market reduced. The street is coming to terms with Trump's tariff policies. It's wibbly-wobbly on a daily basis, but now the street believes that it will be rational. And towards the end, we saw Reliance end about 5% higher in the last couple of trading sessions of the week. That powered the bulls ahead as well. We also saw recovery from oversold levels. We had been seeing 5 months of losses up until February. So as a result of which, from oversold levels, we did see a bit of a bounce back as well. Some of the high beta names came back in fashion. Metals was a good performing index. We saw BEL on the Nifty do extremely well as well. And a lot of these other stocks as well, like Eicher Motors reporting good numbers, did well. Bajaj Auto, Maruti reported weak numbers. We saw some weakness out there. And a lot of the other mid-cap stocks as well outperformed. The only stock on the downside this week was Gensol, down about 41% for the entire week. But then again, that's because of problems of its own. By and large, a good week. Next week, extremely crucial to track.
All right, thank you, Mangalam, for that update. So where are the markets headed from here on? How will Trump's tariffs impact the world? Here are two big global faces, Howard Marks of Oaktree Capital and Ruchir Sharma of Rockefeller International.
China has done very well for the last 30 plus years. If they settle on the right policies, it can continue to do well. But it has to make up its mind about whether it's going to be truly socialist or encourage the private sector. India, on the other hand, has a growing population and coming off a low base, it has incredible opportunities. And of course, you have a very constructive government right now, which is trying to move this country ahead. My last visit here was exactly 8 years ago. I feel a different energy today, and India seems very positive. India has benefited from the fact that so many people see China in a less positive light today. I'm optimistic on India.
In China, there's been a sea change in Xi Jinping's attitude towards the private sector. And that's also happening because he realizes that he needs the private sector to be firing because the export economy is going to be under threat under a Trump era. In countries like India, too, they have the highest tariffs, as Trump has pointed out. So now India is rushing to lower its tariff rates and do a deal with the US that it should have done anyway to make itself more competitive.
Okay.
So I think that there are all these policy changes that are happening around the world.
Newly appointed SEBI chairperson Tuhin Kanta Pandey has cautioned that the regulator needs to be more transparent on conflict of interest of the board. He said that SEBI will be coming forward with their own plan to reveal them to the public. Pandey was speaking at the Money Control Global Wealth Summit in what was his first media address after taking charge as SEBI chief. He said that the regulator is willing to engage with foreign portfolio investors and take steps to ease regulations where required.
As we intend to grow in the speed that we are aspiring, we need to have both domestic and foreign capital to support the growth momentum. We at SEBI are conscious about the need to create conducive environment to attract foreign capital. We will be happy to engage with FPI and AIF industry participants to address their difficulties and further rationalize regulations to promote ease of operation. Maintaining trust and transparency in the financial ecosystem is paramount. A well-regulated market instills confidence among investors, ensuring fair and efficient capital allocation. And I think the trust and transparency extends to SEBI itself. We need to not only create trust of all stakeholders in us, but we also need to maintain that trust. And to that extent, I think we need to be more transparent, including on various other measures, including, for example, on the conflict of interest of the board and so on. And we will be coming forward with our own plan to further transparently, reveal these conflict of interest, etc., to the public.
NSE CEO Ashish Kumar Chauhan has said that there needs to be one single day of weekly expiry across exchanges. Speaking at the Money Control Global Wealth Summit, Chauhan added investors may see multiple exchanges come up with weekly expiries. Now remember, NSE announced that all Nifty index weekly and monthly contracts will expire on Monday instead of Thursday. As of now, the BSE has not announced that they will follow suit.
Whatever was the SEBI's perspective of reducing daily expiry, I don't think is going to be met if we continue to have multiple exchanges having expiries on different days. So for me, if you want to really remove that, you need to have one single day, whichever way. And then, but if your purpose is to have multiple, then probably you'll have 15-20 days also being asked in a week.
On to a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. The Reserve Bank is currently examining cases where co-lending partnerships is resulting in higher rate of interest for the borrowers. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 that industry participants said that the regulator has expressed discomfort with co-lending tie-ups between unregulated entities. Ritu Singh joins us now. Ritu, what are you picking up?
Well, yes, the Reserve Bank of India is tightening its scrutiny of co-lending agreements. We understand from sources that the regulator is closely examining such agreements, co-lending and otherwise, especially in cases where borrowers may be facing higher interest rates because of these partnerships. So, for instance, one concern is that instead of offering borrowers the weighted average rate of the two lending partners, some agreements are reportedly charging a higher rate, a practice that the regulator is not too pleased with. Now, we also understand from industry participants that the Reserve Bank of India has expressed its discomfort over co-lending partnerships with unregulated entities like fintechs, and this scrutiny is also coming at a time when co-lending is seeing increased traction, especially between two NBFCs and between fintechs and NBFCs in segments like unsecured loans, where the industry is seeing rising delinquencies. Now, according to a CRISIL report from last year, of the 1 lakh crores of assets under management under co-lending partnerships, about a third was from personal loans alone, although this number likely came down since because of the higher risk weights. Now, importantly, there are no explicit guidelines that disallow such partnerships, but there are regulatory grey areas. While you have the digital lending guidelines, the 2018 and 2020 guidelines on co-lending between banks and NBFCs for priority sector lending are silent, for instance, when it comes to NBFC to NBFC co-lending. Now, this also isn't the first time that RBI has raised these concerns. We understand that last year as well, the regulator had written about these issues to specific lenders, urging them to strengthen underwriting standards and enhance the monitoring of these kind of deals. Tech integration between banks and NBFCs has also been highlighted as a potential operational risk. But for now, it looks like RBI is stepping up its oversight. Whether this results in directions to specific entities only or more than that, we'll have to watch out.
Thank you, Ritu, for that. The Reserve Bank has approved the reappointment of Sumant Katpalia as the MD and CEO of IndusInd Bank for 1 year up to March 2026. Remember, the bank had sought a 3-year extension. US President Donald Trump has paused the 25% tariff levy on Canadian and Mexican imports covered under the North American Trade Agreement. However, the relief will last only till the reciprocal tariff regime kicks in on the 2nd of April.
I spoke to the President of Mexico, a wonderful woman, today, and we helped them out with the problem they were having to do with the tariffs, short-term tariffs. And we had a very good conversation. Also, we discussed drugs, and they've been working much harder lately. Do you notice that? On people coming in and drugs, and we've made tremendous progress on both.
And staying with President Trump, the US president has fresh limits on Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, or famously known as DOGE. Taking it to Truth Social, President Trump said that the department must use a scalpel and not a hatchet to fire federal employees, hinting that the layoffs must be more precise. He also said that the cabinet secretaries are in charge of laying off people and that Musk's role will be an advisory one. This statement comes a day after jobs data from the US showed a sharp rise in layoffs after Elon Musk's team began cutting the US government workforce. According to a report, 1.7 lakh layoffs were announced in February. This is 245% higher compared to January. More than 1/3 of the layoffs are due to Elon Musk's efforts to reduce the federal workforce.
So I had a meeting, and I said, I want the cabinet members go first, keep all the people you want, everybody that you need. And it would be better if they were there for 2 years instead of 2 weeks, because in 2 years they'll know the people better. But I want them to do the best job they can. When we have good people, that's precious, that's very important, and we want them to keep the good people. And so we're going to be watching them, and Elon and the group are going to be watching them. And if they can cut, it's better. And if they don't cut, then Elon will do the cutting.
Crude oil prices remained in a steady territory amid uncertainty over the US tariffs policy and OPEC Plus countries' decision to raise output. The prices are set for their biggest weekly decline since October 2024. In the crypto market, prices of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana and others declined even as US President Donald Trump signed an executive order establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve. The move disappointed investors as it indicated that the US government will not buy fresh Bitcoin. The announcement came just ahead of a crypto summit at the US White House. All right, it's time for a short break. Coming up next, Karnataka government's annual budget crosses 4 lakh crore rupees for the first time. Revenue deficit projected to fall by 30%. More details when we return. Welcome back. The Karnataka government's annual budget has crossed 4 lakh crore rupees for the first time. 90,000 crore rupees has been allocated for women-centric schemes. Ritu Singh gets us the key highlights.
Well, Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah presented his record 16th budget in a speech that lasted more than 3.5 hours, with the budget outlay crossing 4 lakh crores for the very first time, up from 3.7 lakh crores in the previous year. Now, that included revenue expenditure of about 3.1 lakh crores and capital expenditure of more than 71,000 crore rupees. The budget was focused on welfare schemes, infrastructure, industrial growth, with a focus on minorities and boosting Bengaluru's infrastructure. However, this budget has also been a revenue deficit budget like the previous years, and the fiscal deficit is pegged at 2.95% of the state GDP. In terms of the key allocations, about 94,000 crores is allocated for women-centric programs, about 62,000 crores for children-centric programs, 50,000 crores for roads and transport, another 32,000 crores for the education sector. Now, Bengaluru is getting a major infrastructure boost. The city's annual grant has been more than doubled to 7,000 crores in this budget. About 1,800 crores has been set aside for brand Bengaluru projects, with new flyovers, roads that are planned, as well as an expansion for the metro project as well. A huge focus area has been minority support, with the state announcing a 4% reservation for Muslims in government tenders and contracts, 100 crores for Jain, Buddhist and Sikh community development, another 250 crores for Christian community development, and so on. Lastly, there's also some good news for cinema lovers, with the state capping the ticket prices for all movie theatres and multiplexes at rupees 200, and even proposing a state-sponsored OTT platform to promote Kannada cinema.
Thank you, Ritu, for that. Shifting focus now, the Supreme Court has questioned the Maharashtra government for awarding the Dharavi redevelopment project to the Adani Group. The court has sought a response from authorities and Adani after a rival bidder alleged a scandal. The apex court refused to stay the project for now, but ordered payments to be made to escrow accounts. Ashmit Kumar is here with more details. Ashmit, what happened in the court and what does this mean for the Dharavi project?
Well, it essentially means that as of right now, the work will continue, but there is still that scrutiny of the apex court that will have an overhanging impact as far as this entire proceedings are concerned. Just to dial the clock back, 2018, Seclink Technologies, Seychelles Best, emerged as the highest bidder with 7,200 crore rupees of their bid. However, their bid was scrapped. There was round 2 of bidding that took place in 2022. Adani emerged as the leading bidder with a bid of about 5,000 crore rupees. And it is that entire process that has been challenged by Seclink Technologies. They argued that this is a scandal, that the tweaking of the conditions for round 2 and the scrapping of their bid was done essentially to favor Adani Properties, and that this is something where extraneous factors are at work, and a unique situation where the state government appears to be keen on settling for a lower bid. On the back of that, what essentially happened today is that Seclink Technologies in the highest court of the country said that we'll revise our bid even further. They said we'll take it up a notch from 7,200 crore rupees to 8,640 crore rupees. Now, Adani councils were there. Maharashtra government was also there before the highest court of the country. They said that Adani's bid is not just 5,000 crore rupees. There are other extraneous obligations and commitments that they've agreed to. Seclink Technologies gave an undertaking that they'll agree with everything that Adani has agreed, and above and beyond that increase their bid to 8,640 crore rupees. So on the back of that, the Supreme Court issuing a notice asking a response on all these allegations that are being made, asking a response from the Maharashtra government as well as Adani Properties. And what's important is that in the interim, what has been directed by the apex court is that while there is no stay, redevelopment project will continue. Adani can continue spending money on that redevelopment. However, the Supreme Court has, number one, said that all these proceedings will mean that this entire redevelopment contract will be under the watchful eye, will be subject to court orders, and importantly has given a mandate to Adani to make all the spending from one single escrow account, so that there's a very clear list of all the investments and all the spending that is being done for all these redevelopment projects. So that is clearly something that the apex court has said. The hearing, we understand, will resume in the month of May.
All right. Thank you, Ashmit, for that. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Business 360. News and updates continue right here on CNBC-TV18. Thank you.